right, lads and lasses, and good day, mates. Welcome to another podcast. Newcastle United 4, Nottingham Forest 3. Christ, I'm joined by Craig. Craig, where the hell to begin? Midnight kickoff for us on the east coast of Queensland. 2 a.m. finish. Then obviously a little bit of sleep before getting up for work at whatever it was in the morning for you, 7:30, something like that for me. We are both absolutely cream cracked as a result. But I'll tell you what, mind, Craig, like at the end there, I was thinking if this ref, because the ref didn't, it took ages to blow his bloody whistle anyway at the end. Like, and if this had went on for like another 3 or 4 minutes, I reckon we would have probably definitely got a draw out of this, and then I wouldn't have even put it past us losing it the way we were playing around. So that would have made today an absolute stinker. But as it was, we managed to get over the line. Big win. How are you feeling?
Shagged is one word. Elated is another.
Yeah.
Relieved is a big thing as well. Because as you mentioned, those last few minutes, my old phrase is my arse was twitching like a rabbit's nose as things were going on. But it was a cracking game for the neutral, that's for sure, but not for those who've got a bit of a dodgy ticker. Not again in the last 20 minutes.
It was a funny game, wasn't it? Because you know, we've been like this all season. We've been like, oh, we're back. And then, oh, no. Lads, calm down. We're not back.
Yeah.
And then a little bit later, we go, oh, hello, we're back. And then, oh, no, we're not back. So this game starts off where it's like, you know, 8 minutes in, bang, 1-0 down. After a fairly bright start, I have to say as well.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, we're not back after that Man City drubbing. And then we go and absolutely destroy Forest in like 16 minutes, I think it is. And we're 4-1 up at half time. And you're like, right, we're back, get in. And then the second half, absolute dog shit. And you're like, oh, we're not back. It was one of those kind of games, wasn't it? It was just up and down, back and forwards. You didn't know what was going to happen next. First half, the game was finished. Second half, it could have almost been, you know, a nightmare for us.
Absolutely. Tell you if roles had been reversed, if Forest had started the first like they did with the second, there's no way we're coming away from that game with 3 points, not even close. What do you
put that down to, though? I mean, we were having a chat in our Telegram, and big ups to everybody in the Telegram chat who joined us for this game. It's always a good chat in there. Link in the description if you want to join us. Shameless plug. We were talking about this, and it gets to the halftime, and we'll get over the goals in a minute, but we'll get to halftime, and some of us are saying, right, don't ease up, keep on going, let's see how many we can get. And then I'm saying, look, the game's done. We've won this game. We don't need to come out and flog ourselves. Got a big game on Wednesday, which probably going to lose, but you never know. Let's just keep it tight. That was my kind of key point. Let's just keep it tight. Let's go. Not necessarily like full on low block, but like just set ourselves up to kind of control our part of the pitch and try and hit them on the break. Basically play like we play Arsenal every single time we play Arsenal. It's like literally like, okay, we're going to just pack out this area and good luck to you. And 9 times out of 10 it works, you know, and you just frustrate the opposition and they don't get anywhere. And then the first half, it didn't look like they're going to get anywhere either. So I thought that was like a reasonable way of doing things. And then in the second half, we come out and it looks like the Man City team. It's like a completely different mindset. It's not even keeping things tight at the back. It's just mistake after mistake after mistake. What the hell do you think happened?
Well, I think there's a little bit of a complacency. So basically, I think we came out of the changing rooms in the second half and thought, you know, game's already done. Forest are probably thinking exactly the same. They're just going to try and sit back and absorb and try not to concede anymore. But it was far from it. They came out. I mean, we did hit the corner post from a Fabian Schär header very early on in the second half. But apart from the attempt at the end with Wilson, which we'll probably get onto, that was the only other attempt that I can really remember in the second half from us wanting to get in one right at the death. Everything else in between was all them. But I think it was just a case of, we just thought the game was dead. And we probably thought that was the same for them, but again, far from it.
Could have put my hands through the screen and throttled Wilson in that last minute there. I was like, you idiot. Thankfully, it didn't cost us 3 points, but my God, man, lift up your head. All right, so the teams. Where's the teams? By the way, I'm using Jack's notes. Jack was meant to be doing this, but we've jumped on early, so I'm using his notes here. So it might be a little bit over the shop. But the team, so it was a return for Nick Pope. I think, did I do the review of Man City with you? I think I did, didn't I?
I was, well, it was that much of a blur and that much of a disaster class, the Man City game. I can't remember who was in goal. I think it was Dubravka. It was. Because we're talking about how easy he was getting beat on that first goal because he didn't come out as a goalkeeper.
But do you remember we were saying, like, do you think Eddie Howe will use this kind of defeat as a chance to get Pope in? Because Pope's been sitting there for a few games now waiting to get in.
He has,
And Eddie Howe likes to wait until there's a reason to kind of change people out. So, like, you could look at that, even though it was Man City, you could go, well, look, you've just been beaten 4 times. Also, you've just signed a new contract. Get on the bench.
It's a typical.
So Pope at the back, then it was Hall, Tino, so returning Tino as well, in place of Trips, who had another nightmare at City. Bernard Shaw, Bruno Miley coming in for, who did Miley come in for? Was it Joelinton? Tonali. That's right, yes. And then Willock, who was in for Joelinton. Then it was Murphy, Golden, and Isaac. I don't think I've missed anyone there. And then on the bench, it was Dobbs, Trips, Target, Kraft, Asula, Longstaff, Tonali, and Barnes, and then Wilson. So a few changes. And then in the first 8 minutes, we're doing all right. And then you concede and you think, oh, God, has he made too many changes here? Pope. I mean, might as well talk about this first goal, actually. It's a shocker for Murphy. And he had like one of those games, didn't he, Murphy? And he just kind of, he had the whole space of the pitch behind him when he just had to run into. And instead he tries to be clever and do like a reverse kick to the wing and completely spazzes it. And then the guy just picks it up and runs along and blamos it from that's Hudson's Law, wasn't it? Blamos it from practically, might as well be the bloody halfway line. But you only had Byrne in front of him, and Byrne does that thing where he does all the time, where he kind of turns, he twists his back, he kind of looks away a little bit and stretches out one of his long legs, and he's kind of like, he's just hoping it hits him, really, without really kind of actively trying to stop it. And then Nick Pope. So Pope was a bit off his. Well, he was probably off where he should have been in the goal, wasn't he? Do you think he was just expecting Byrne to get in the way of that or something?
I don't know. It was a weird reaction from Pope because there wasn't a lot of power in the shot. It wasn't like a thunder bastard or anything. It was a well executed shot in terms of its placement. It actually hit the side netting. So I think if Pope had got down in time, I still don't think he's saving it, to be honest. But Pope seemed to fall down in slow motion from what I remember. Whether, again, he was caught offside because of Byrne's position or anything, or just literally caught off by the shot itself. Maybe I expected him to take a few extra touches, then take a shot rather than cracking one from long range because he had space to run into. But yeah, Pope was definitely a little bit sluggish to begin with on that one.
Yeah, and that kick from Hudson-Odoi, it like bounces 3 or 4 times before it even goes in, and it takes a lot longer than a normal shot. And you're thinking, how the hell has that gone in from that distance? With that much time to kind of get your position right, and you're thinking, oh, Jesus Christ. So we actually started the game well, as I already said. So I felt there was a definite intensity in the way we were playing. There was definitely a strong desire to run down the wings, to kind of, that energy seemed to be back a little bit. And maybe it's because we were so shite against City that Eddie Howe said, look, I want a reaction from you. I want you to get out there in front of your own fans and I want you to absolutely go for it, And you could say, look, that Murphy error, that was just an individual mistake and we kind of got caught up by it. But you can easily imagine this team, and maybe other teams, when going down that early against a top 3 side as it stands in the season, especially given that this game was, I mean, you've said it loads of times, it was like we had to win this game to keep in that sort of top, 6 positions in the league to try and get that European spot, top 5 for the Champions League, that is. We had to get it. So there could have been a chance to just crumble under the pressure of like an early conceded goal, and the crowd turning a little bit, and then you're playing a really good team in Forest. But I'd already seen enough to know that we had like the right attitude. But I must admit, I didn't expect us to kind of just rampage through the rest of our first half, because it was just all us. That the rest of our first half, wasn't it? Like it was
right, yeah.
Almost weren't even there.
They had one more shot from Hudson-Odoi, which actually led to our second goal, which was a curler that went straight in the arms of Pope. But I think that was their only other attempt on target that I remember in the first half. But everything, we bombarded them left, right, and centre with everything that we could possibly do. And for that 11 minutes and 49 second period, I think it showed us being at our absolute glorious best. and shows what we are capable of doing of teams. Yes, Forest aren't in the same echelons as what, say, City, Arsenal, or Liverpool maybe, but they are a very good quality outfit, and they've proven that this season. But we turned them inside out like they didn't even exist.
It was probably a bit of a rude awakening for them as well. I mean, the first goal had a certain element of luck about it. I think it goes off Murphy's cock.
That was the second one.
Was that the second one? Sorry, I've got
Miley got the first.
Miley, that's right, of course. Yeah. So sorry. I'll start again. You sure it wasn't the first one?
I know Miley got the equaliser.
Right. Okay. Yeah. God, honestly, I'm so tired. So that's the one where Miley picks up in the middle. He finds a nice little space in the box, doesn't he? He receives the ball, kind of runs a little bit into his space to the left-hand side, and then kind of reverse kicks it into the corner. I think he makes about 3 people in the process.
Shot.
I think what I love most about this was just his reaction to the goal, where he's kind of like jumping around like a kid on the park, where jumpers for goalposts, and he's like running around going, "Whoa, I've scored a goal!" It was nice to see him start, and it was nice. He actually had a really good game as well. I felt like he was. I love his body shape when he's kind of looking to pass the ball out wide or something. You can almost predict what he's going to do by the way he kind of shapes himself, and he's got a lovely kind of finesse to the way he moves the ball around. But it's all the more special to see him get a goal, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And again, everyone knows how much I've raved about Lewis Miley for a good number of years now. And there was a bit of a chat beforehand the game about Anderson obviously being one of our own. If it had been given the option for PSR reasons, I would still have much rather have sold Anderson than Miley if either of them had to go. I think Miley is the better of the two, and I think that's already proven. He's 4 years younger or thereabouts than Anderson as well. But for a game that would come in for a very high-profile game as well, a game that we, like I say, we have to win, to replace somebody like Tonali, who I'm not going to say he's an experienced veteran because he's only 24 years old, but he's well-travelled. He's played in major tournaments. He's an international. He's played in Milan derbies, that sort of thing. So he's got a vast knowledge of experience compared to Miley. But Miley held his own against a very solid Forest midfield. And that finish, it was on his weak foot as well. It was on his left foot rather than his right. And to get that shot through the defender's legs and at the bottom corner, it was a very well-composed shot, very well-composed effort. He was probably maybe our joint best player of the game next to Lewis Hall. I'd say Lewis Hall had a cracking game, to be honest. He was probably man of the match. Miley was superb too.
Lewis Hall was utterly amazing in this game. I think there was one sequence where he had like 5 headers in a row, and I think he was starting to feel his hammies after all that pogoing around, in the first or second half. I forget what it is now. But he had a fantastic game. We'll do man of the match at the end, but I think you've pretty much let the cat out of the bag on that one. Yeah, so it's 1-1, and then suddenly the crowd's like, wow, and then you see the lift a little bit in the lads, the players, and it's only 2 minutes later that the aforementioned cock shot occurs. It wasn't really his cock. I mean, he could have literally just thrusted that one in, and it would have been he would never have beaten that meme for as long as Murphy lives. He's the meme king anyway. But like, imagine him just like thrust into the net. That would have been absolutely superb. But as it was, it looked almost like the ball was just so temptingly ready to waft in with his hand that he was fighting his instincts. He was like, no, I must not hit with my hand. And he kind of just, I don't know, he knees it or thighs it or something, doesn't he?
That's the thing I don't understand, because I'm trying to remember it in real time as I've seen it. And as the cross comes in, or the low pass from Lewis Hall, I think it is. I just thought, why not just smash it in with your foot? Why do you have to go to your knees or anything like that? I can't remember why his action got him onto his knees, because he had nobody around him, and it's not like he had to stretch for the ball. But I think you just whack it in. You're what, a yard out. The slightest touch and it goes in, and luckily it goes off his bell end. So it's an ode to Miggy's goal against Man City when he had the dick goal a few seasons back, and it was at the same end as well, which was quite funny, I think. So that was canny, but that was a much well worked goal, and again is just wax lyrical about Lewis Hall. He was integral to that second goal.
He was. He did a lot of good in this game. I'm kind of annoyed I dropped him out my bloody FPL, but there you go. Win some, we lose some. So in the space of 2 minutes, we're like bang, 2-1 up, and we just kept on going. It was like bang, bang, bang. We're going to keep on going. We're going to keep on going, and we eventually get a penalty. So this review from VAR took absolutely ages for this penalty decision to be made.
Mm-hmm.
There was a few of us saying that's a cast iron. There's a few of us saying that I'm not too sure. The referee's non-decision is my biggest problem with this penalty decision. I mean, look, we got the penalty, so that's eventually it all worked out, and I think that was the right decision. But the referee opted not to give any kind of decision on the field, sort of effectively is a decision, because he's effectively saying that that wasn't a penalty as far as I can tell. And it's either because in my mind he was blindsided by a Nottingham Forest player and there was definitely someone in his way, or it's because he's not sure if it was too close and he can't really call it in the moment. But it was like another example of the referees kind of just deferring almost to VAR when instead of like making a decision. And the problem, and I don't mind that to some extent, but the problem I've got with it is that if VAR had went, you know what, fair enough, it wasn't a clear and obvious error, like you had somebody in front of you and it was really close, we'll just go with the on-field decision. Then because the referee hadn't made a decision, it wouldn't have been a penalty. Like in my mind, it was an obvious penalty as well, by the way, because I can't remember who the defender was, but I know you've got to, you use your elbows as leverage to kind of jump most of the time. I mean, you're not pogo sticks. You don't jump with your hands down by your side, so you need to get yourself up a little bit. But the thing is, the problem with this guy was that he was twisting, but even more so, he was watching the ball as it was being kicked, so he knew exactly where the ball was going to be kicked. He's jumping up, and he's like, and he's making. The fact of the matter is, he's not making any effort to bring his elbow down. So, in my opinion, that was, although it was quite close to where he was, in my opinion, his actions meant that ball was going to hit his elbow, not ball to elbow. It was like elbow to ball. And I think that was a deserved penalty. Did you have any counter thoughts on that, or was it much the same for you?
I actually thought the ref bottled it, to be honest. I genuinely do. I looking at it again as it happened in real time as I watched it back, there is a decent gap between, I think it was Gordon who tried to do the cross between the player jumping and hit it with his elbow. There was a decent space in between. I know a few people said that it's not that much, but I reckon it's what, maybe 8 to 10 yards, something like that, maybe, which is enough for reaction time for a professional sportsman to get his arms out the way or whatever. But his arm is definitely out. It's almost at a 90-degree angle, effectively. And it bounces clean off his elbow. It's below the sleeve. We're being told this season that anything sleeve and above isn't necessarily classed as the arm. So if I had hit maybe a few inches up, then it would have been disallowed and play would have continued, which is fair enough because that's the rule that we're being told. But it was clearly elbow just below, almost stuck out. Player can't have any kickoffs about it. And I don't think he did either, to be honest. I don't remember seeing any of the Forest players saying, nah, you've made a wrong decision there. They're all like, yeah, what? It is what it is.
I think you can tell from his initial reaction where he stops for a few moments and looks at the referee, and then he realizes the referee hasn't blown, and then he starts to try and close down the rebound. So yes. I think he knew that it was going to be a penalty anyway, because he knows where it's hit, and it's in the area, and he kind of knows it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But why did it take so long to figure this out from the bloody? I mean, it took ages, didn't it? Am I misremembering, or did it take ages? It feels like it took ages.
Well, this weekend there's been some stupid amount of time taken on VR decisions alone, not just in our game. I mean, you look at the Everton Man United one there for Everton's first goal. Yeah. That was a stupid amount of time taken. Then there was their penalty decision in that game, plus a few others. And honestly, the amount of time is just absolutely pathetic. As far as I'm concerned, if it's not clear and obvious, you've got 30 seconds to either stick with the original on-field decision or override it. Simple as that. It shouldn't take 3 to 4 minutes to say, yeah, that's clear handball. When it was blatant, everybody in the stadium knew it was. The players knew it was. The only one who didn't was a friggin' ref. Yeah. And he's the one that should be keeping an eye on all of this stuff. Yeah. VR, I like what it's down to, but it's just not working because it's taking too goddamn long.
I don't know. It kills the game, doesn't it? I mean, we're not going to go over this because, let's be honest, everyone's done this and we've done it 1,000 times, and everyone knows where we are on VAR, and we all know where everyone else is on VAR. But there must be a good reason why they're not just saying, look, you've got a ticking 30-second timer to kind of make some big calls, and you can maybe extend it if you want to have just a very, very close call look at something. But if you can't make a decision in 30 seconds, the decision's going to go to the on-field. And I mean, thankfully it didn't, because again, that would come back to what I've just said before there, where the referee hadn't made a choice, so therefore it wouldn't have been given, and it would have been bloody frustrating. Yeah, but let's not get too much into VAR. It sucks balls, and we all know it does. Big Isaac. Oh God, I tell you what,
What a
mind.
penalty.
I'll tell you what, mind. He was. When I heard, because we're watching on TV, so when I heard the glove hit the ball and I saw the direction of the ball going up, just for a brief second, I thought, "Oh my God, he's spaffed this one. He's absolutely ballsed it." And I reckon Sells probably thought that he'd done enough to keep it out as well, because
Yeah,
I actually thought some people were saying that was like terrible goalkeeping. I thought it takes balls for a keeper to sort of stand in the middle
correct.
and just wait to catch the ball, doesn't it? You know, and
Yeah,
because if you do that, you have got no chance of going sideways. You're basically there or up, and you kind of you've got a little bit of leeway left or right, maybe, but you're mostly just waiting for the ball to come to you. So he was already starting to go off to his, I think it was his right, and then he sort of realizes that Isaac sold him a dummy, and he sort of puts his big mitt up, and he just like. How did he even keep that out? Was it just the power, do you reckon, from Isaac, even though it was a kind of stuttering
yeah.
kick?
Well, it was a Panenka style penalty, so it was a chip shot. And I think because Sells is diving, obviously his momentum's going one way. He's tried to correct, but as he's done it, he's fallen backwards as well. So he can't get his mitt to claw it out. It's already over the line before he's even touched it. So I think even if he had have pushed it out of goal, I think it was already over. So I think the pen would have been given. But as they stated on the replays of the penalty, looked like Sells was off his line anyway. So the penalty may have been forced to be retaken if it had been saved. Who knows?
Right.
But thankfully, it went in. But Isak would normally say he's cool, everything like that. But I guarantee he was shitting bricks the second he tapped that ball. He's thinking, oh, shit, what have I done here? It was
Same as the rest of us.
almost an embarrassment of a penalty. But thankfully, Sells was already going one way and the ball was going another.
You could see the right grin on Matt Sell's face when he was sort of sitting in the back of his neck, and he was like, "You shithead! I almost had that, you bastard! And you've probably made me look like a right whopper."
It was a cracking. When they work, Panenkas are absolutely fantastic penalties, but when they don't, you make it look like a right proper mug. And luckily, it paid off for us in that regard.
Absolutely. Well, Isaac wasn't finished. It was only 1 minute later that he helped himself to a second goal. It was he receives the ball in the box, and then basically he just kind of pivots and shoots across goal, if I'm not mistaken. My memory is bollocks at the
Took a
minute.
deflection. I think it was Danielson, I think.
Oh, that's right. It loops over, doesn't it? Yeah.
And it just loops over Sells, who was helpless with
Couldn't do
that fourth goal. Not a great deal he could have done with any of the goals, really, to be honest. He had a relatively quiet game apart from picking the ball out the net 4 times. But yeah, it was an unlucky one, but we'll take it all day long. And Big Dog is now in the 50 high club for the Toon. Only the second Premier League striker to do so, I believe, for us. And only Big Al is getting chased down by Big Dog now.
Yeah, that's the 50 goals in, I think, 76
or 78, something like that.
76 games? I mean, that's some kind of return. That's some kind of return, isn't it?
Considering as well, when he first signed, he wasn't even the number one striker. He was always like making cameo appearances off the bench, that sort of thing. Wilson was always a preferred striker in that first season. And that first season, he picked up that, I think it was a big thigh injury. So he missed a big chunk, and it took him a while to get his fitness and match sharpness back up. So that is a cracking return. And he is a world-class striker, and I'm just so pleased he plays for us.
And that's it. I mean, if you give him the ball enough time, sooner or later he's going to bang in a bunch of them. The thing about the City game was he was nowhere near getting I think I remember one time he got the ball in the box and he took a shot that was blocked or something against City. And the rest of the time the ball just didn't get to him. It was blocked well before it got anywhere near him. And as much as the guy can do a lot, he can't do it all, for God's sake. He needs people supplying him with some quality passes, And if you do that often enough, he's going to bang them in. So yeah, that was lovely to see. I was kind of hoping he would get his hat trick, but wasn't to be in the end. So that kind of sorted the first half, and we were, as I've already said, we were absolutely flying at this point. The half probably came at the wrong time for us. It was one of those ones where we'd rather it didn't go to half time. We'll just keep on going like this, thanks, because we're going to absolutely murder this lot. Unfortunately, it goes into half time. We come out the second half, and as we've already said, we were absolute dog shit. Before we get into that, though, I wanted to just point out some decent performances. We've already mentioned Lewis Miley was very good, and Lewis Hall was just excellent. Joe Willock, He had a pretty good game, didn't he?
He did.
Bit of return of form for him, do you think?
Yeah, it was much better than some of the previous games. Looked like he's absolutely back to his best. Powerful running, strong running with the ball, which is what we come to expect from Joe Willock. Had a hand in one or two of the goals as well. And he can be quite devastating down the left-hand side because that right back for Forest, he's quite strong and quite pacey, but Willock left him on toast a few times. And if he can keep that form up going into the Liverpool game and so on, then, if he is getting back to his top game, we've got a quality player on our hands again. And Big Joe is sorely missed, but if we can kind of fill his shoes with a different type of player in Willock, then that just gives us another avenue to feed from.
Where do you prefer him to be? Do you prefer him to be running down the wing, overlapping, making crosses, or do you prefer him going down the middle, coming late into the box and taking shots?
His crossing ability isn't that great. I think he relies on the whole 1-2 type thing with whoever's up top, whether it be Wilson, Gordon if he's up there, or even Isak as well. But yeah, I don't remember getting many crosses in, and if there were, they weren't overly fantastic. Yeah, I reckon he's the type of person beat his man 1-2 and then try and roll it in himself.
He can cause a little bit of chaos in the box when he's running in a pace as well. But would you rather see him down the middle though, or do you think? Because I personally,
I think he's his best.
Yeah, I was going to say I think that's probably where he's his most kind of, as I say, a bit like a chaos agent, where he goes down there, does a lot of running, gives them all kinds of trouble, makes space for everybody else, doesn't he? Although I do love that late arriving in the middle of the box, Blamo, King, Willock that we did have for a short while there. But I think certainly in this team of Waiters right now, I think he's more effective down the wing. And that's part of the reason why he's not getting much in the way of games as well. Because when Joe's there, Big Joe, he's usually doing that sort of thing. You've got Gordon there. You've got overlapping from Hall. So it's not like we're short of options down the left.
No.
On the negative side, because we do have to talk about the second half a little bit, I thought Bruno in this game was largely anonymous. I think he came into it a little bit in the second half when people were getting tired and he was just basically concentrating on falling over and winning free kicks. But he was being man-marked like that whole first half. And it was one of those rare games where he didn't have much of an impact in my mind.
See, I thought when he was off the ball, he was actually very good at dragging Gibbs White away from where the ball actually was to prevent that counter-attack if the ball was to be turned over. I was watching him a little bit on that one. He was very, very good positional play out of possession because, like I said, he was being man-marked. When he had the ball, like I say, Gibbs White was on him like flies on shit. So he didn't have much time to turn, pass, do what he normally do. Plus, you've also got to remember he was sat maybe 20, 30 yards further back than what he would normally do when Tonali plays. So he didn't have that influence further up the pitch where Miley probably played. So that's probably why that first half, he was almost anonymous because a lot of that play was in the Forest half and he just wasn't really around in that regard. But he didn't have his best game, but it certainly wasn't his worst. I mean, Fulham, he was absolutely shocking in that game. But he was average, nothing fantastic, nothing stupid, nothing crazy. But I loved it towards the end. I think it was in the 85th minute. He knocks the ball out for, I think it's a corner or a throw or something. He's standing there at the Leazers and going, full on screaming at the crowd, trying to get them geared up. I love him for that because he's one of the very few that do get the crowd pumped up. In chance of Bruno ring around St. James's is absolutely superb. But yeah, he wasn't ineffective, not by any stretch. He certainly didn't have his more influential game, but I think that's because he was sat deeper and Gibbs White done a decent job in what he was doing.
I think we, excuse me, I think we can give Forest some props for the way they went around and about nullifying Bruno, and we can also give them props for the way they attacked us in the second half. Although, as I already said, sort of earlier on there, I think a lot of that was to do with how we were allowing them to come onto us.
Yeah.
And leaving spaces everywhere. But not just that, though. We had some big players making some really basic mistakes in this second half. None more so than Dan Burn. Like he thinks he's like Maldini or something at the back, doesn't he? He's constantly trying to sort of clever arse it out the back. He's trying to do these passes across the line, and he's trying to pick it up off Pope and make things happen in front of him. But it's not his game. And every time he gets the ball and he starts doing that sort of thing, I am honestly sitting there thinking, "You're gonna balls it, mate." And in fact, didn't I say something in the chat? Didn't I say?
Yeah. And it happened literally 30 seconds later.
Yeah, I said, like, we've got to stop piss farting about with the ball at the back here because someone like Burns is going to have an absolute mare. And as you say, 30 seconds later, absolute stinker, and he gives them a goal. I don't really want to talk too much about their goals because I think you can probably lump them all into the shite defending category. They were both kind of really just badly defended goals from our perspective. A lot of bouncing around, pinballing, maybe from set pieces as well, which we kind of succumb to a little bit too often for my liking this season. And we just looked nervous that whole second half. I cannot quite put my finger on why exactly it was, but something happened. And then the second half, we just kind of lost our nerve and ended up just being like this third-rate bloody, pub team. It was shocking.
Yeah, it was almost as if they had the half-time pizza or something like that, or the full-time pizza at half-time, and they're all just a little bit stuffed and a bit leggy, and they're full stodged up. But they certainly weren't at the races in the second half. Like we mentioned earlier on, we had that chance from Shaw, which hit the crossbar or the post or whatever, in the opening minutes of the second. That was it from what I remember, and then we'll get onto the Wilson thing shortly. But everything in between was just turgid. It was just not on at all. And can Fabian Schär stop with his long ball crosses now, please? Those crossfield passes do not work anymore. Whether he's just losing his touch because he's aging as a footballer, as they all do, those long range passes, I can't remember one finding hit their target. Every single one went to a Forest player. And this isn't the first game he's done it as well. The last few, his range has been well off. Either keep it simple, play it short, play it out wide, and get it up the wings. But do not try these crossfield passes because they're just getting intercepted and it's carving us open left, right, and centre.
Wasn't just him. There were a few. I mean, Golden tried one. Do you remember Golden when he tried to spread it and he completely?
That was such a piss poor pass. And I think he knew because his head just sank before he even decided to trap out. Like, I fucked up. Got to try and get this back now. But the second half performance was literally black and white from the first.
It was shocking, and this is what I'm worried about when we play teams like Liverpool. Now, not so much on Wednesday or wherever it is this week, what we're going to play them in Anfield, because let's be honest, we're going to get spanked. But when it gets to the final and we're playing this Liverpool team, anything can happen. Now, can you imagine if we go 4-1 up at half-time at Wembley in the Cup, and then we come out in the second half like this? Dude, they'll friggin' murder us. We'll lose it in the second half. We'll probably not, and they'll probably win the Cup, and we'll all be sitting there going, what in the shit just happened? We can't come out like that.
Absolutely, yeah. So we will get our horses handed to us if that's the case. But one thing I do think we are missing, and I'm hoping he is back sooner rather than later, is Botman with his ball playing style of defending. Because he can carry the ball, he's got the strength, he's got the ability to pick a short pass, to pick a long pass. And he is a good mold of both Burn and Shaw together in a much younger, fitter, stronger body. And the quicker he's back, the better, because as good as Burn has been all season, and he has been absolutely phenomenal, he's probably up there with player of the season. Maybe it's time he has a little bit of a rest. He was very leggy at Man City, as were a few others. And that second half, he just looked a bit jaded and a little bit sluggish. Whether the amount of games he's played has catch up with him, and he does need a bit of a break, time will tell. But Botman needs to come in for either or and Sharpish, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'm just I'm listening to you. I'm just searching because something popped up on my computer saying that he was going to be out for something amount of time, and I couldn't see what the alert said, and then I couldn't find the alert anymore. So I'm just doing a quick search. Nothing seems to be coming up, so that's a relief, to be quite honest with you. Because
Eddie said he was touch and go for this game, so maybe he's back for Liverpool, if not after the international break.
Would you risk him against Liverpool? Do you want to keep him wrapped up for the final? I mean, the final is still 3 weeks away.
I would probably have him on the bench if needed, but I wouldn't start him. I know we shouldn't go to Anfield expecting a loss. We should go there to try and get a result from it. But it's going to be a game where that defense is going to be bombarded left, right, and center. And it's not a game where he's going to just be able to sit back, relax, soak up a little bit of pressure, and then pass it out every 10, 15 minutes or so. He's going to have to deal with one of the best attacks in world football right now. So he's going to have to be on his game 100% of the time. And as we found out in the opening minutes at Spurs down in their place, when he's a little bit sluggish, he can concede a goal, as we found out there. I would keep him fresh until after the international break. Let him get maybe a training ground match under his belt. Let him do another match with the under-21s, whatever, and get a few extra minutes in him and make sure he's good as gold for the final.
What's the next game? Is it after that? Was it West Ham or was it? No, so we've got Brighton in the FA Cup, then it's West Ham in the league, and then it's Liverpool in the cup final. Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily want to bring someone back from an injury and then stick him into like the cauldron that is Anfield, and under the pressure he's going to be under, he's going to be overextending and whatnot. Because if he gets down another injury, he's probably going to miss the final, which is worst case really. And we're also waiting for Joe Linton to come back as well. I think the rumor was he would be back for the final, but maybe it's going to be a little bit sooner. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. So let's get on to Callum fucking Wilson. So to set the scene, as if we didn't know, 4-3. They've just scored on 90th minute. There's like 3 minutes extra time to be played. Turns out to be 4 for some reason. And we are up against it. Like, if this game had went on any longer, as we've already said, we probably would have lost 2 points and maybe even all 3, depending on how long it went for, because we had just gone. We were done. Get us in the change room, get us out of here. We are finished. And then we have this break at the end, and I wasn't even sure if he was offside because it looked like he was coming from an offside position, but it might not have been. Picks up the ball down the wing, down the right-hand side. He legs it towards the goal and has a pretty tame shot towards Sells, who's come out of his area a little bit, and he's kind of narrowed the angle, as all good goalkeepers do. And that's fine kind of in and of itself. But to the left-hand side of him is Anthony Gordon, who has absolutely pegged it all the way down the pitch. He's in acres. 3 touches earlier. If Wilson had just cut it into the gap that was readily available to him, he would have had Gordon in absolute acres of space. Sells would have been on the wrong side of his goal. He would have had to scramble. It's most likely going to be 5-3, and that means we can all just unclench and kind of enjoy that last great moment of get in. That's 5-3 because it sounds a lot better than 4-3. 4-5. What was it? 5? Yeah, whatever I just said. God, honestly, I'm so tired. But what does he do? He does that kick. It gets saved, and he kind of just trots off as if like nothing's wrong. Gordon is going apoplectic in the box. He's proper fuming because that was probably the last ounce of strength that he had in his legs. Like he was otherwise cooked. I know they always say that strikers have to be selfish, but like Isak's got a great pass on him, and he will pass when he feels like it's a better option. And that's what you want. You want someone to pass. Mo Salah is like 1,000 goals this season. He will pass and make assists as much as he will score the goals. And I know Callum Wilson's dying to get back on the goal sheet. I know he's been injured. I know he wants his name in lights at the end and all the rest of it. But like, dude, we are almost going to lose this game. We're going to lose the 2 points from this game and end up with a draw if we're lucky. Pass the goddamn ball. I wanted to just punch the screen so hard that the shockwaves went all the way around to St. James's Park and smacked him across his stupid, stubbly face. I don't know how you felt, but like I was furious. Thankfully, the whistle goes afterwards. But like,
I was raging, absolutely raging when I watched it back, and then you see how much space Gordon actually had because there's some fan footage of it as well, which shows you from a different camera angle that the TVs didn't have. The amount of space Gordon has was actually hilarious, and it's not as if Wilson can say he's a bit legged, he's a bit jaded or whatever because he's been on the pitch for however many minutes. Since the start, he was literally on maybe 10 minutes, something like that, if that. So he's going to be fresh. He can see the pass. He's probably hearing Gordon square it, do whatever, and he just goes for glory himself. In that situation, when he kicks it into the defender, he would have been better off just taking it into the corner, holding it up, and maybe even trying to play it out for a corner or something like that. Because if that ball ricochets off the defender, God knows where it's going to go to. They then go to the other end and score. He's then going to be hung from the Tyne Bridge for frigging treason or something like that,
Wait, did it hit the defender or was it Matt?
Did I? Yeah, it ricocheted off a defender, and I can't remember where it ended up, but it could have went anywhere. They could have been
went off towards the line. Yeah, it went off towards the touch line, and it kind of whistle went.
Yeah.
I mean, 2:00 in the morning, I was like knackered and also kind of tense as shit, and then also screaming blue murder. So I must have misremembered where the hell that ball went when he took his shot. Look, the whistle goes. It's just more relief than anything else at this point, isn't it?
God, yes.
Kind of annoying thing about this as well, from like a different perspective, is that it gives Forest something to take into their next game when you want them to feel like dominated. But they've came back and now they'll go into the next game thinking, you know what, we actually still have got something about us. And I'm not saying they would necessarily have thought one way or the other, but it would have been nice just to kind of send them packing with a feeling of like, God damn it, like, you know, we might not be all that, because I want them to get out the top 3, top 4, and I want us to get in there.
Yeah. Now, the one thing regarding that as well is obviously we've got Liverpool midweek at Anfield, and we know how horrid our record is at Anfield. We don't need to go into that one. However, they've got Arsenal at home at exactly the same time. So,
Arsenal shit.
In terms of an actual result, Forest actually beating Arsenal might not be a bad thing, purely on the fact that if the planets do align and Lady Luck comes our way and we somehow manage to get something at Anfield, whether it be a point or all three, that puts us on 47, Arsenal on 53, and they're in second. You know, we're not that far off Arsenal, and they've got no fit strikers at all. Saka's still way off. And on paper, we have a relatively easier set of fixtures, and we've got a little bit of a break with the international coming up, so there's time for players to get back, everything like that. So Arsenal could start tumbling down the table, and a defeat against Forest could just open that avenue up where there's a potential another place to play for within the league for a Champions League spot. And I don't see how Forest winning that one could potentially be detrimental to us. If anything, it's going to be a bit beneficial, really.
Interesting take. I think I'd rather just assume the top 2 are done, and then we're playing for the next sort of 2 or 3, depending if we get that 5th place UCL. Because Man City are definitely on some kind of run, but obviously they've just got beaten by Liverpool. Forest, we've just beaten them, and they look shaky, I would say. So I don't know. I mean, biggest competition, let's just try and get something from Anfield and see how everything else goes. Because to be honest, the results this weekend were perfect for us. Well, you know, everyone around us was getting beaten. We managed to somehow get through that second half and get the bloody win. Yeah. So 5th in the league. I mean, we're sitting here all doom and gloom about the second half, but you know, we should probably remind ourselves that we are now 5th in the league on 44 points. Man City are also on 44, but with a superior goal difference, an extra 5 goals in us. It was funny, at one point we were like, 4 more goals, a 2-0 defeat to Liverpool, and we'll be bloody 4th, you know, and we went and spaffed it ourselves.
No one seen that second half coming, did they?
No,
Jesus Christ. Not even Nostradamus saw that frigger coming.
So then you got Forest in 3rd on 47, so we're on 44, City's on 44, Forest on 47, Arsenal on 53. Liverpool, who pretty much, let's be honest, have tied up this win now, this championship now. They're on 64. Just behind us, Bournemouth on 43, Chelsea on 43, Villa on 42. Good win there for them. And Brighton on 40. So like from 9th, which is Brighton, and you can possibly even bring in Fulham on 10th on 39. So 39 all the way up to 47th, which is 3rd place Forest. It's anyone's game, isn't it? There's still like this everything to play for. This could be either the most disappointing season in the world for us, or it could be like legend. You know what I mean?
It could be. And you know what's actually really good about this season is everybody bar Liverpool, everybody's beating everybody. So we're beating Arsenal, Nottingham Forest are beating Brighton, Aston Villa are beating Chelsea, Bournemouth are beating us, Bournemouth are beating Forest. Then Forest are beating City. It's a massive open playing field right now. It used to be where the top 4, top 6 or whatever was pretty much a closed shop. Now it's as open as it's possible going to be, you know. It's absolutely fantastic. And for the neutral, it's absolutely superb. For us, it's a little bit bum clenching because we've no idea where we're going to be from one game to the next in terms of our performance, because we're a bit Jekyll and Hyde at the minute, so to speak. But yeah, it's a cracking league. It's one of the most competitive leagues in God knows how many years I remember. So many teams fighting for the same thing. But it's good to see. And hopefully we can continue that march up the table, close the gap on Forest and Arsenal.
God, imagine if we won the cup and got into the UCL. Oh, what a season that would be. Good old Lord. Just reading off one of Jack's things here, comeback kings. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad trait to have, to actually come back from a goal down, 2 goals down, wherever it is, and come and win the game. Let's just round this off. Man of the match. I think you're going to go for Hall, aren't you? Same as me.
If we want to go over the top three, like was on previously, Lewis Hall number 1,
3 points to Hall,
Lewis Miley number 2,
2 to Miley.
And then number 3, just because he 2 goals, albeit one was a dubious penalty, go with Big Dog.
Isaac, 1 point Isaac. Yeah, I'll do 3 Hall, 2 for yeah, I'm probably going to do the same as you actually. To be honest with you, it's I thought Golden was quite lively as well, but I think you've got to give Isaac because he got 2 goals. So I'm going to give -2 points to Murphy, even though he got that dick goal, because he was
He's
well off.
minutes, shocking.
He was well off it today. Oh God!
Aye.
All right, look, we'll finish it there. We could talk about Liverpool, but we've kind of covered that already. I'm going to predict an absolute beasting, so I don't think there's any much more point in talking about how that game's going to go. Because let's be honest, we're not going to do all that great, to be honest, are we? And we'll just wait until that game's over and done with, and we'll come back with a review of the pain, because that's what's going to be pain. All right, thanks, Craig. Thanks to everybody who's watched and listened. Give us a like and a subscribe, and join our Telegram chat if you like. Description has the link. And we will see you for the pain that is the Liverpool review later in the week. Cheers.